Hi guys, welcome to Chapter 2 of our Music Theory online course. And this section of the course, we've talked before about the musical alphabet and the letters that are assigned to the pitches. We also discussed how exactly we measure those pitches by placing those notes on the musical staff. We looked at the treble clef, which was the top line of the grand staff, and we looked at the bass clef, or the F clef, for the bass notes, and we saw exactly how to place those particular notes that we had put on there. However, we did leave something out of there. When we discussed the musical alphabet before, we talked about these letters, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, right back to A and repeating. And there is tones, what they call semitones, that come between those letters. And if you've ever seen a keyboard before, you'll notice that there's white keys and then there's black keys. These black keys are the semitones or the half steps between each of these letters here. So on the piano, to walk what's called a half step, we would have to go from here, the C, we'll start at that one for example, and we would walk one step up, a half step, to the black key. And then another half step would be down to the D key. From the D key, we walk another half step up to the D sharp key, which is called. And these are called, again, half steps or semitones. A whole step in music, which is another terminology, is when you walk two half steps, creates what's called a whole step. So from C to D would be called a whole step. Like moving like this. This is a one half step, and another half step to that D is the whole step. This is really important with music, and how melody works and how scales work is taking these steps and using some of these formulas I'm going to go over to create scales. So half steps on the keyboard are pretty drawn out and basic, but I'm going to show you a little bit on guitar how half steps are done as well. On the guitar, it's a little different, or bass. Half steps are done by each fret you move up. So for example, if I'm at an F here, I'm going to go to the next half step, creates an F sharp, G, and then G sharp. These are all half steps. If I want to move a whole step on the guitar, just like the piano, I'm going to be moving two half steps. So here to here would be a whole step, another whole step, another whole step, throughout music like that. Now, you heard me using a term that you may not be familiar with called sharp. And that's how we label these half steps or semitones in music. They're called a sharp or a flat. You'll see this symbol come up, kind of looks like a hashtag, and that will be what we use to label a note sharp. So when we talk about moving up the steps on the piano or the guitar, and we are now moving from a C to this black key, that black key would be called a C sharp. If we move on to the next one, it'll be a D. Moving up will be a D sharp. And they'd be written out such as this. You can put a D in front of it and then the sharp symbol, meaning that you're going to be playing that particular key. Now, what's also going to be used in talking about these semitones is we also have flats. And you'll see this looks like a little lowercase b that shows up. And that is what we use for the term flat. Now, what's the term flat? That's what we use when we discuss going backwards. So for example, if I was at an E here, and I would go back up to this half step backwards to that black key, that would be what's called an E flat. Okay, and it'd be written out something like this. If I was at a B, went backwards here, it'd be called a B flat, that particular letter. Now, you might be noticing something right now. You might be saying to yourself, wait a minute, you just told me that's a D sharp. But then in another breath, you told me that's an E flat. Which is it? Well, the answer is, it's either one is the same. If you were to ask a singer to sing an E flat, it'd be the same sound as a D sharp. That term is called enharmonic. That means that the sound is the same, but the letter could be different. So when you come upon this particular black key here, this on guitar or piano could be either called a D sharp or an E flat, depending on which direction we're really coming from, okay? So your sharp symbols will be listed with that number sign or hashtag, and then the lowercase looking b will be your flat. Now, there's something interesting that happens here with Western music and the keyboard and the guitar, is you might notice that there's not always a black key between your steps. Check this out. Where is my E sharp? Where is my F flat? Or look over here. Where is my B sharp? Where's my C flat? There's not even a black key there because it doesn't exist. There is no half step that's going to be going to an E sharp or a B flat. You're simply going to be going from the E right to the F. So it's really important with music to keep that in mind, that there's not a black key or a sharp between two spots throughout the entire musical alphabet. Between E and F and between B and C, there is no sharp key like that, okay? And that's really important, again, when it comes to, I have a lot of students that we learn to memorize the guitar fretboard, and it's important to know that because if you think there's an E sharp or something, it could throw you off. So if I were to walk up the steps here, just for an example on the guitar, I would be going like this. F, F sharp, okay? G, G sharp, A sharp, B, and I'm going right to C. So there again, now it's going to be a half step to make it there. Going on, C sharp, D, D sharp, E, and then I go right to F. So in music, when you're talking in regards to tones and steps, you're not going to have a black key between those as you go along like that. You may come upon, in music, what's called a double sharp, where you have two of these, and they actually will mark it as this little X symbol here, and that equals a double sharp. Now, how would you find